From a defensive standpoint, Arsenal's performance against Manchester City was really impressive, restricting them to minimal shots on our goal and a minimal amount of touches in our box. We became the first team to stop them from scoring in 57 games at the Etihad. Today I'm going to show you how Mikel Arteta tactically set up his Arsenal team to prevent Manchester City from doing damage. Before I begin, it would be much appreciated if you can smash that like button, smash the subscribe button and turn on notifications. It really helps the channel out. So without further ado, let's begin. It was clear to see that Mikel Arteta's Arsenal didn't have much of the ball, with the Gunners averaging about 27% of the possession. However, we cannot criticise Arteta for this pragmatic approach, because in previous fixtures against Manchester City, Arsenal have actually dominated possession. Arsenal averaged more possession than Manchester City last time out at the Etihad, and at the Emirates last season, the Gunners had 64% of the ball. But let's look at what changed this season. Arteta actually set up Arsenal the same as he always does tactically. In possession, he wanted us to be brave. Look at the spaces in between our goalkeeper and two centre-backs, almost creating a back three, and then you've got Jorginho and Odegaard deeper to collect the ball. Even Declan Rice, who we normally utilise in a deeper role, was slightly higher than Odegaard. We were essentially playing a 3v2 against Haaland and De Bruyne in possession when we had the ball at the back. This would then mean we could stretch the pitch with Ben White and Kiwior playing a bit higher and wide. Unfortunately, from an individual's perspective with David Raya, his kicking wasn't very good. So the amount of times this approach was successful, and when a ball could be played into the wide areas, we lost possession. However, we must give credit to Manchester City's press. It worked really well and often meant that David Raya was rushed when picking out his options in those wide areas. I don't mean to single out David Raya, who I think has been brilliant since coming in and being our number one, but he averaged a 49% accuracy with his passes and only completed 11 out of 29 of his long balls. This is the last thing you want against a perfect Manchester City side. You want somebody with the confidence and ability to pick out his man. But unfortunately for us, David Raya just wasn't on it in that aspect of his game. I just want to say a quick thank you to EBL 2017 on Twitter for these images. But here we can see Manchester City's build-up. We tried to press them and suffocate them, but the ability and technical excellence of their players meant that our press wasn't very effective. Kovacic was always dropping into that left centre-back area, and he's a very press-resistant player. So it became too risky for Saka to push on to Kovacic, because that would then mean Gvardiol was free, and then a 1v1 situation would appear with Ben White up against Phil Foden. Arteta did make some noticeable tweaks during the game. Gabriel Jesus would tuck in to mark Bernardo Silva, and Kai Havertz would essentially man-mark Rodri. This was essentially the same all over the pitch, as Arsenal adopted a man-to-man strategy. This is exactly what the Gunners did last season against Manchester City at the Etihad, but it didn't work. It did mean for a very slow game, as Manchester City had to slow down. Their outlet became Mateo Kovacic, who, if you remember, did make one mistake when playing out from the back, and it was there where Arsenal needed to capitalise. Arteta executed the game plan very well, but it was those moments where we needed to capitalise so much more better. The notion that Arsenal came to sit is so far and wide of the mark. Look at Declan Rice, our left centre mid, pushing high in between Ake and Rodri. Essentially, Declan Rice is press baiting. He makes Ortega think, where could he pass this ball? Because if it goes left to Rodri, Declan Rice has the ability to jump in. And that's the same if it goes right to Nathan Ake. Essentially, we were sizing Manchester City up and daring them to play through us. This press baiting style was done all over the pitch. Look at the way we've cornered Mateo Kovacic, meaning he has to play a pass into Rodri or back to Stefan Ortega. If he then does that, Declan Rice can pounce. I'm unsure what happens in this sequence, but Manchester City most likely play out. And this is where you have to give credit to your opposition. Yesterday, I thought Manchester City were excellent on the ball, pretty much perfect, to the point where None of these situations actually came to an Arsenal counter-attack. It is in these pressing situations where you can say Arsenal did miss Gabriel Martinelli. There were so many sequences where we needed an outlet on the wing, and Bukayo Saka doesn't have much top-end pace. Kai Havertz is really good at running the channels, but we needed that threat out wide. You saw the difference Leandro Trossard make in terms of his runs from the wing. It meant that Odegaard had an option to play a ball through and cause Manchester City to run backwards. If we had the right profiles on the wing with top-end pace, I feel like we could have created much more chances. Anyway, let's go back to Arsenal's defensive structure, a bit more deeper on the pitch. This sort of mid-low block would make Mourinho proud. Arteta's Arsenal are incredibly well drilled in the mid-low blocks, and they have been ever since he was appointed. This 4-4-2 completely nullifies Manchester City, meaning they only have the option of going back to their centre-backs or Mateo Kovacic. Phil Foden tries to go into the pocket, but Gabriel Jesus can just follow him in there. That is the same with Kevin De Bruyne, who was constantly looking for opportunities to get into a pocket, but either Saka or Jorginho would just shuffle over and prevent it from happening. As Manchester City pushed us back, our mid-block only got even better to look at. Look at the way Gabriel Jesus and Bukayo tuck in to make a 6-2-2 formation, which sounds absolutely ridiculous to say. I think we don't give enough credit to Gabriel Jesus and Bukayo Saka in this structure. I saw a lot of criticism for the two in terms of their attacking play, but the way they performed defensively was brilliant. It is not surprising that when going forward, they looked a bit tired and lacked that quality because they'd been doing so much running. And that's the same for Martin Odegaard, who was everywhere, trying to stop gaps from appearing in our midfield. The one slight criticism of Arteta's shape is most definitely down to the amount of chances we created, but I wouldn't put it down to our tactics, but rather the quality that we had from individual players, which normally perform quality for us. Maybe it was down to the international break, but we saw a lot of our attackers not really turning up for this one, which is disappointed because when we look at the brilliant defensive structure, it deserved more attacking quality. I personally feel Gabriel Martinelli should have come on earlier, but maybe he was more injured than we thought, because when the game hit the 75th minute, you could tell that we had taken a psychological hit on Manchester City. Psychologically, they started to feel like they were never going to break us down, and Martinelli's pace in that instance for a longer period of time could have killed them for the ultimate smash and grab. Yes, to the neutrals, that game wasn't interesting, but for those of you that like to see tactical excellence, it was a fantastic watch. Hope you enjoyed this analysis, Gunners. Please smash the like button, subscribe for more. Peace.